presented by the 2015 Honda Civic, Canada's best-selling car for 17 years in a row and the official vehicle of the Toronto Blue Jays.
Welcome to Rogers Center. It's a beautiful night for baseball. The Mets are here in town after they swept the Blue Jays in their 2 games at Citi Field in New York. Terry Collins, 66 years old, is the manager of the Mets. And let's take a look at their starting lineup tonight. Top of the order is the former Yankee Curtis Granderson. Juan Lagares all the way down in the 7th spot. Daryl Cincinnati is hot. His last 6 games, he's 7 for 14, a .500 average, and he's slugging .786, and he's hit his first Major League home run. Ruben Tejada is at third base. He's hit .390 as a third baseman this year. He has 6 doubles and 7 RBIs, filling in for the injured David Wright.
Drew Hutchison will take the mound for his 14th start of the season. There are his stats: 5-1 with a .575 earned run average. He's coming off his shortest outing of his career. That's a start not related to an injury. He could not make it out of the 3rd inning of his last start in Boston. The Sox reached him for 8 runs, including 3 home runs. He just had trouble commanding his pitches.
First pitch of the game is cut on, and Granderson hits a high fly ball. Pilar, just in front of the scoreboard in deep right center, makes the catch. 1 pitch, 1 out. Let's take a look at the rest of the defense for the Blue Jays. In the outfield, it's Danny Valencia making his, it is Colabello in left, Kevin Pilar in center, and Bautista in right. Danny Valencia is at third base. Reyes and Goins up the middle, and Encarnacion at first. Russell Martin behind the plate for the starter, Drew Hutchison.
John Gibbons wants to get some of his regulars off the turf, give him a blow, so Josh Donaldson's going to DH tonight. Danny Valencia inserted at third base. This is his 5th start at third base for the Blue Jays this season.
Good opportunity to give Donaldson a half a game off, if you will, as the DH. This is Juan Lagares, the great center fielder for the Mets. Cuts on that high fastball. It's a ball on the strike. Lagares won a Gold Glove last year. He can really go get him in center. Batting .280.
Came up as a shortstop in this Mets organization. In fact, he was tutored by Jose Reyes when they were both youngsters in the farm system for this team. Reyes has a lot of respect for Lagares.
Hutchison has to make an adjustment. He's missing upstairs, and he's got to figure out how to get that fastball down.
That's exactly what happened with him in his last start against the Red Sox. He just could not command his fastball, was not able to get that breaking ball over, nor his changeup. Everything was up over the plate. There's a good slider right there. And what that will do will get Drew's hand on top of that baseball, which he needs to. He needs to stay close just a little bit longer and let that arm catch up to him.
3-2 pitch. Fastball jammed him. Reyes up the middle. Dives. He's not going to have a plate. Lagares has an infield hit. Reyes got to it, but when he extended, he couldn't get to his feet quick enough.
It's been an inconsistent season for Drew Hutchison over his last 5 starts. You can see when he's good, he has been really good. Against the White Sox, 9 innings, no earned runs. The Astros pitched into the 7th inning and gave up the 1 run. But when he was inconsistent, and a lot of it has to do with his fastball command, where he needs to throw the pitches. At the Twins, not very good. And that start, and at Boston, of course, we just talked about that.
This is the first baseman, Lucas Duda. Breaking ball misses outside. Duda 280 for the season. 9 homers and 29 RBIs. Duda in his 2nd season playing first base. Early in his career, they moved him around a lot, and I think that really hurt him as a hitter.
He came up with the big base hit. He stayed in against the left-hander. Brett Cecil the other night, he's hitting over .340 versus left-handers.
Got that opposite field approach.
Yeah, doesn't have any problem with the left-handers. He's got some power, although he only has 9 home runs.
There's a strike. Hutchison might have gotten a call. Looked like he was down and away. 2 balls and a strike. We're in the 1st inning.
He's also having trouble finishing off his pitches in his last start. It was almost like he was throwing it and standing up to see where the pitch is instead of bending the back and really following through and finishing off his pitches.
He beats Duda with that fastball. It's now 2-2.
He's got the type of windup, I think, Buck, that surprises hitters at the plate, that they're surprised with the fastball. You mentioned that Duda was beaten by that fastball. It was only 92 miles an hour. Now, if he can put it where he needs to, in, down, this is a good time for it right here. Something in.
Nogueras with a moderate lead at first, not running. And he jams him again. 93 that time, but in on his hands.
And he beat him. He beat him again.
Duda was a 7th-round pick by the Mets out of USC out in California. Grew up in Riverside, California. As we mentioned, last year was his big breakout year. He had 30 home runs for the Mets, batted .253 for the season. There goes Nogueras. Ball is hit. What a play by Goins. Oh my, every single game he turns in a sparkling defensive play. That ball was past him when he gloved it, and he knew the only play he had was to first, but he retires Duda.
You know, there's no panic in Ryan Goins. He made a play in last night's game, very similar up the middle with the dive, but you can see he doesn't panic at all. Just takes his time. He knows he's not going to be able to turn the double play, so he just flips the ball over to first base to get the out. The Mets guessed right by sending the runner. That would have been a double play.
Goins wanted the umpire to take a step to his right so he could have a clear view of Michael Kadire, the hitter. Kadire goes after the pitch, and good thing he moved the umpire. That ends the inning. Goins takes the liner. 3 outs. The inning is over. A couple of good plays by Ryan Goins in support of Hutchison. Each other good luck for the night. They have really had a good streak of late. Take a look at the lineup for the Blue Jays. John Gibbons' lineup: Jose Reyes, top of the order. Then Josh Donaldson. He's the DH tonight. That's the DH this season. He has 2 homers and 4 RBIs, but look at his OPS, almost 1.5 in the OPS department. How about Edwin Encarnacion? In interleague play since 2012, he's had 20 home runs, driven in 53 runs, and his OPS is over 1. And Edwin really starting to swing the bat here in the month of June.
Starting to get that timing down. This is a lineup for the Blue Jays that have punished left-handed pitchers this whole season, and they get another one here tonight. This is Jonathan Neese. He is a Mets 7th-round draft pick in 2005 out of high school, and he reached the big leagues in 2008. This is his 8th year with the Mets. Real good in his last start versus the Giants. 7 innings, 2 earned runs, still had a no decision in that game. Only time he's faced the Blue Jays, it was an ugly loss right here at Rogers Center in 2012.
He lasted just 3 innings, gave up 4 home runs, and when he left the ball game, it was 8-1 Blue Jays. Reyes takes the first pitch, strike. Second pitch is caught by the shortstop, Wilmer Flores. Reyes hit it hard. Defensively, the Mets would like to support their pitchers a little bit better. Their defense hasn't been that consistent. Daryl Cincinnati is at left field. Juan Nogueras, the Gold Glover, in center. Curtis Granderson, the veteran, is in right field. No David Wright at third base. They've used 5 different starters over at third. Ruben Tejada is there. Wilmer Flores and Wilson Herrera up the middle. Duda's at first, and former Blue Jay Travis d'Arnaud is behind the plate.
Yeah, you mentioned the 5 starters. 6 different players have had time at third base for the Mets this year. They've made 14 errors. That's the most in the National League, tied for the most in Major League Baseball with the New York Yankees for third base. 14 errors already. David Wright only played 8 games this year.
David Wright is really questionable for a return to the Mets this season. He's got spinal stenosis. It's off the end of the bat. Donaldson with a 2-1 count. Terry Collins, the manager of the Mets. Collins is 66 years old. This is his 5th season behind the Mets.
He passed Gil Hodges last night with his W.
3rd all-time in wins for the Mets behind Davey Johnson and Bobby Valentine. There was an 11-season gap between managerial stints for Terry Collins. Really a long time away from managing, but boy, has he had a very storied resume. Donaldson chases that high fastball and strikes out. 2 down.
With 2 very quick outs here in the first inning, let's take a look at the scouting report for the left-hander Jonathan Nice. The pitch usage, he's going to pitch off that fastball. They're hitting 256 off of it, and he's going to use that to set up his other pitches. He got the slider, the changeup, the cutter, and the curveball. A lot of high batting averages against all of those pitches for Nice. He's going to have to be like Mark Burley. He's going to have to change speeds and keep the ball down.
Jose Bautista had a good road trip. He had his second multi-home run game on Monday against the Mets in New York. Hit a homer in the 1st and a homer in the 9th. Breaking ball outside. Nice works quickly. Another curveball. This one's a strike. 2 balls and 2 strikes, 2 outs. We're at the bottom of the 1st inning. Bautista now with 13 homers and 41 ribbies. Bautista hit a 98-mile-an-hour fastball for a deep home run in New York. It was an inside pitch, and you could see they're not going to come inside against it.
Yeah, and ever since then, everything has been away. Everything.
That's up the middle. Herrera throws out Bautista. Quick inning for John Nice. 3 up, 3 down. No score after 1 here at Rogers Center.
Rogers Ignite Bundle. Find out how. Call 1-888-ROGERS-1. Hurry, offer ends soon. Buck?
Thank you very much, Barry. And it's a nice night for a ball game. They expect 25,000 here. And I'm sure a lot of people in the area, when they recognize the roof is wide open and it's a beautiful evening, they'll make their way down here to Rogers Center. Travis d'Arnaud, the Mets' young catcher, former Blue Jay farmhand, hitting 5th tonight. A cleanup against the Blue Jays in New York. Good-looking young player.
Yes, both offensively and defensively. I've had a lot of scouts tell me that they really like this kid as an offensive catcher. You can see he's hitting over 300. I don't know how the power is going to play out. That's not important. I like the batting average up over 300.
Darno's now 26 years old. Hits that ball up the middle. Another good play by Goins. Wow, that was a tricky hop, and he made it look easy. Not many second basemen can make that play. They're going to be caught in between.
I'll tell you, that's 3 straight very fine plays that I put a star next to. You can see he gets to it. It bounces off the mound, and that last hop, very tricky. And then with that shortstop type of arm, you can see that ball up. He picks it cleanly. Strong arm. He can throw that one on the run accurately to get the first out.
This is Wilmer Flores, the shortstop. This was thought to be a real concern for the Mets shortstop. But boy, look at his numbers. 10 homers and 32 RBIs already.
Those 10 home runs lead the team.
That's career high for Flores. He played in 78 games last season. This is his 61st so far.
And he's had a nice little hot streak himself. He's been driving in a lot of runs for the Mets. 7 RBIs in his last 7 games.
Not that many 5-game hit streak working. 2-1. Breaking ball. He didn't go after it.
And the big RBI single that broke the hearts of the Blue Jays was Monday in New York.
Kevin Long in his first year as the Mets hitting coach. That's a pop-up over near the Mets dugout. Martin's got a shot at it. Makes the catch. Nice play by Russell Martin.
All right, that's 4 very good defensive plays that the Blue Jays have put up. That was a long way for Russell Martin to go. You got to find the ball, get rid of your gear, and then just run that one down. Nice basket catch to finish it off.
4 stars in the book already for defense. Hutchison getting some good support at second and behind the plate. Daryl Siciliani, the left fielder. Siciliani is in his rookie season. He just got called up from the minors, and he's done a nice job. Mentioned his recent hot streak, his last 6 games, he's hitting .500. Tried to hold up and went around.
Good fastball there. He's got a nice little short swing. We saw him hit a couple of balls in New York the other way. Little old school. No batting gloves. Just the pine tar.
He'll turn 25 later on this month on June 22nd. He was drafted by the Mets in the 4th round. Two and 1, 2 outs. Now it's 2-2. Little loop in his swing, and he was underneath that high fastball.
Yes, he was. And that's where Drew Hutchison went right after him. Throw another one there. See what happens.
Yep, you were right on the money, Pat. He strikes him out with a fastball. 3 up, 3 down for Hutchison in the second. Edwin Encarnacion's got a 9-game hit streak, and he's worn out National League pitching. 20 home runs against the National League since 2012. He'll lead things off.
Presented by the 2015 Honda Civic, Canada's best-selling car for 17 years in a row and the official vehicle of the Toronto Blue Jays.
We mentioned John Neese works quickly. Edwin Encarnacion wasn't quite set. Neese was ready to deliver. Edwin says, now I'm ready.
And yeah, he was ready.
They've been swinging a hot bat. We mentioned his 9-game hit streak. He's also hit the ball very well in the month of June. Average up to 239, 13 and 38 for Encarnacion.
When he starts to walk like we saw him do lately, 4 walks on the road trip along with those 7 hits, you can tell he's starting to see the ball just a little bit better. Timing gets a little bit better. There's a couple of good takes right there off of Neese.
Isn't that interesting when you talk about a hitter swinging the bat well? The first thing he mentioned, I'm really seeing the ball well. They slow the ball down. Encarnacion, as Pat mentioned, 7 hits, 2 doubles on the road trip. He walked 3 times, starting to get on base more frequently, but more importantly, getting good pitches to hit.
Talking to Brooke Jacoby today about Edwin, and he was saying, I think he has to stay on the fastball. Teams have been really trying to pound him in, and he's been missing that inside fastball.
This one jams him. It's a pop-up door. No, the catcher makes a play very similar to that of Russell Martin. That's the first down the bottom of the second.
And that one looked like an inside fastball right there. And Edwin just was not able to get the barrel out there and hit it hard, like he got jammed a little bit.
Chris Colabello. He's back in left field tonight. What a season he has had since joining the Blue Jays. 342 average. Colabello joined the Blue Jays on May 5th. He has 52 hits since coming up to the big leagues. That's just 5 shy of Jason Kipnis for the most hits in the majors since May 5th. Kipnis has 57, and we were there when they put him in the leadoff spot, and then he took off.
Ended up with 54 hits in the month of May, something like that. 50 hits in a month, I remember they were saying. Just ridiculous numbers, and Colabello's right behind him.
There are 4 players with 52 hits since May 5th. Colabello, Todd Frazier, Dustin Pedroia, and A.J. Pollock all have 52 hits. That's a ton of hits. 6 weeks of play.
Well, he's been doing it by hitting the ball where it's pitched. If it's outside, he'll go up the middle or go the other way. If they try to jam him, we've seen him pull the ball. That's why the outfield is playing him the other way. The left side of the infield is playing him to pull, where the outfield is shading him the other way.
Well, there's a big gap from the left fielder to the center fielder. Hit it right over that umpire's head, and you'll run for days. But he'll take ball 4. A 1-out walk to Colabello. That's the first base runner for the Blue Jays tonight. Well, the Blue Jays absolutely wear out left-handed pitching. Against left-handed starters, they're 10-4. But look at their batting average.
Only team over 300 against left-handed pitching. Kansas City is second at 277. And we told you at the beginning of the season that this Blue Jays team is right-handed top-heavy. And anytime they face a left-handed starter, they have really pounded him.
So Russell Martin, the catcher.
You know, it helps, Buck, to have some of the hitters that they have in the lineup throughout their career that have had a lot of success against left-handed pitching. Danny Valencia, one of them, and Josh Donaldson has had a lot of success in his career.
Russell Martin behind 0-2. Danny Valencia really swinging the bat well against lefties, as he always does. He's on deck behind Martin. Russell fights it off. Russell on the road trip 6 for 19, a 316 average over the 5 games. Had a homer and a total of 6 RBIs on the trip. Little pop down the right side. Granderson gets over toward the foul line. Martin's retired.
So Jonathan Lee, Bucks, got a little bit more fastball than the Blue Jays anticipated before tonight's ball game. Looked like Russell got beat a little bit on that one too. They'll make the adjustments. They always have this season offensively when they take a look at that pitcher for the first time.
Here is Danny Valencia, 322 overall, but he's hitting 405 against left-handed pitching. Two outs. Colomelo at first. Valencia lays off that high pitch. Nice is throwing more fastballs than I think the Blue Jays anticipated. And when you look at his opponent's batting average on off-speed pitches, you can understand why. They've hit 323 against his off-speed pitches, so he's dishing out a few more fastballs.
There's a breaking ball right there. 327 off the curveball, 389 off of the cutter. We showed that in that scouting report that he's at 47% fastballs. Cutter, curveball, changeup, all in the teens and percentage-wise. So it looks like he's throwing a few more fastballs, and the Blue Jays are surprised.
There's a courtesy throw over to first to check in on Colabello. Chris is not a base-stealing threat, although he's 2 for 2 this year. Scoreless game. We're in the bottom of the second. The Mets were not picked to be a real strong contender in the National League East, but they're 36-30, a game and a half ahead. On the strength of their pitching, Dan Worthman standing there as the longtime pitching coach for the Mets, and they put together a fine pitching staff.
Yeah, it was a foregone conclusion, right? The Washington Nationals were going to run away with this division.
Then everybody picked Miami because of all the activity they had in the offseason. Noah Syndergaard, former Blue Jay, pitched against the Jays on Monday. Of course, Matt Harvey was impressive in his outing last night. Valencia takes it inside for ball 4. Back 2-out walk here, 2 walks in the inning. Now this is where you run into trouble with the Blue Jays. Putting guys on base, they've got pop up and down the order.
They did a good job, especially in that Boston series, of bunching the hits and the walks together to come up with big innings. They batted in 29 innings in that 3-game series against the Red Sox, but they only scored in 9 of them. 31 runs in 3 games. See if they could take advantage of it here with a 2-out hit.
Kevin Pillar, reasonable average with runners in scoring position. There's a base hit through the right side. Colabello's being waved around home. He's going to score. Valencia checks in at third, and Pillar has given the Blue Jays an early lead. RBI number 30 for Kevin Pillar.
That's how you take advantage of a 2-out walk right there. You're going to walk and put a guy in scoring position. You better take advantage of it. Pillar singles into right field, and the ball really slowed down as it got into the outfield, and that allowed Colabello to score. That's a nice swing, inside-out swing right there on that fastball. You can see the second baseman playing behind the bag, out into the outfield. Look at this ball just slow down. No chance for Granderson to make any kind of play at any base. So a nice 2-out clutch hit there for Pillar.
First and third, 2 outs, 1-0 Jays. Ryan Goins has already had a good night to his game defensively. It's a first pitch strike. Goins batting .212 against left-handed pitching. There goes Pillar. Pitch is up, and they're going to try to steal a run. Here's the throw to the plate. Valencia's hung up now in the rundown, and he's going to try to beat Tejada, but Tejada tags him out. The Blue Jays were trying to steal a run there with 2 out. 1-0 Blue Jays. They score, taking advantage of a couple of walks by John Neese.
As the Special Olympics are kicking off next month, and it's a special send-off tonight. And joining us tonight are a couple of special people, Mark Tewksbury, and we have Tony Snyder, who's one of the athletes. We're going to begin with you, Mark.
Sure, Barry.
Tell me about your involvement with the Special Olympics and what it means to you.
Well, I'm so proud to be involved. I'm the honorary head coach for the Canadian team that's going to be competing at the LA World Games next month. We've got 115 athletes, 50 coaches, so well trained. We're just going to take the competition. I'm really looking forward to it.
What does this do for you as far as you were an Olympic athlete? You haven't competed in so long. You're kind of in
that's a lot.
Well, it's been a while.
It's true.
You're in the retirement phase of your life now, but you're still
am.
able to give something back. What does that mean to you?
For sure. Well, really, Special Olympics connects you to the spirit of sport. The athletes are so passionate, and it's so amazing to see these individuals come together and just go for their personal best and support each other. So I'm thrilled to be part of this team.
Peter, I want to talk to you because you're going to be competing for Canada. Tell us a little bit about the event that you're going to be involved in.
Well, I'm going to be in the 100, the 200, the long jump, and the relay.
That is a lot of running you're going to do. What has Special Olympics meant for you as an athlete and be given an opportunity to represent your country like this?
Well, it just gives me the opportunity to make a lot of friends.
Well, listen, congratulations. Good luck for you in L.A. Mark, thanks again. Really appreciate you joining us.
Thank you.
All right, we'll send it back to you, Buck.
Thank you very much, Barry, and what a great opportunity for Mark Tewksbury, the gold medal winner in the 92 Olympics in the backstroke, and he is now lending his service and his name to a great cause, the Special Olympics. We want to congratulate him and all those great Olympians that will participate in California. Welcome to Rogers Center, and that's you right there on the screen. Good job, Peter Snyder, as well. So we want to welcome you all to Rogers Center. Wish you good luck. Ruben Tejada flying out to deep center. This is Dilson Herrera, the second baseman. And Hutchison has located that fastball a little more consistently now down in that zone.
Yeah, look where it is against the right-hander, down and away. Dilson Herrera is another one of those young players for the Mets.
Just 21 years old. He was signed originally by the Pirates as a free agent in 2010. He came over to the Mets in a deal for John Buck and Marlon Byrd down the stretch in 2013. Some of the coaches compared his ability to turn double play to that of Manny Trillo. And that's high praise. Trillo had a tremendous arm.
Yeah, that's what he was known for, a very good arm. And this kid does too.
Fouls it back. Drew Hutchison with a 2-2 count, 1 out. We're in the third inning, and Hutchison has a 1-0 lead. Strike three, call that breaking ball at the knees. First strikeout of the night for Hutchison.
How about that for the front door? You can see Russell Martin move to the inside, and they throw the front door breaking ball, and it's taken for a strikeout. You see Hutch get on top of that one and just drop it in there for the strikeout.
2 outs now, back to the top of the order. Curtis Granderson swung at the first pitch of the ball game and flied out to deep right center. Curtis now in his 12th season in the big leagues. Of course, he came up with the Tigers. He was originally drafted by the Tigers. Out of the University of Illinois, Chicago. Not your typical baseball hotbed, but boy, he's had a fine career.
The Flames play in the Horizon League right now.
Yeah.
I know all about UIC. Looks like they want to go upstairs with another fastball.
It's too high, wouldn't chase. 2-2. Granderson played 6 years in Detroit, 4 years with the Yankees, and this is his second year with the Mets. Breaking ball hit to deep left center. Pillar's got a long run. He's not going to get there. Ball bounces out of play over the wall, and Granderson ends up at second with a two-out ground rule double. His 10th double of the season.
Reunited, if you will, with his hitting coach in New York with the Yankees. And when Granderson was in New York, he had some big seasons. 43 home runs, 41 home runs. There's Kevin Long right there. 24 home runs and a lot of doubles. This is a breaking ball. He doesn't try and pull it, stays right with it, and drives through that baseball to get it out there. Another extra base hit. First time that they've got a runner at second base.
18th extra base hit of the season for Granderson. Ball in the dirt. Nice job by Martin. Smothering that ball in the dirt. Juan Lagares had an infield single his first time up. Two balls and no strikes. Lagares came up in 2013, his first full season with the Mets, hit .242 that year. Played 121 games. Last year he won his first Gold Glove.
Spectacular defender in center field, and another young one.
A little bit of a long swing there. He was late on that fastball.
I think he's going to hit for power too at some point in his career. He's got some natural strength. If you watch him play just a little bit, obviously can run. Not a quick enough bat. It's going to be tough to put up a 20 home run season in that ballpark at Citi Field.
Pickoff is on, and the throw is a little bit short. Granderson was heads up. Got back in with a dive. Russell Martin loves to throw behind the runners.
Yeah, watch Granderson gets off. That's a called play. Gives a sign to the second baseman. You see Goins just try to sneak in there as the pitch was on its way to the plate.
There's a good fastball. On that previous pitch, they put the pickoff play on with the second baseman. Russell Martin called for an inside fastball, which kind of guarantees you're not going to hit it to the right side. So that freed up Goins to break in behind Granderson. Fouled off the 3-2 pitch. You know, a lot of times you just think catchers just throw at random, but Russell Martin called the pitch inside. You figure the right-handed hitter's going to pull it, so then Goins is pretty free to vacate his defensive position.
Unless he gets beat, that's a pretty good gamble I'm going to take it. He's just
over the breaking ball and walk Lagares with 2 outs. Drew Hutchison is 5-1 for the season, but look at the difference in his numbers. Home and road. He's been terrific at home, but it's been baffling how he has struggled so on the road.
No explanation for it at all. The on base plus slugging over 1. The whip almost 2. That's almost 2 base runners an inning that he has given up on the road. Very good at home at just 1. The average is up high. The earned run average. There's no explanation for it. And when you ask him about it, it's just he just hasn't performed. He hasn't made pitches, and that's what it's all about, isn't it?
Lucas Duda with 2 outs. First pitch misses downstairs. It's interesting, too, that Hutchison's season is mirrored by that of his team. The Blue Jays, as a team, pitch much better at home than they do on the road. They have the 4th biggest differential home and road in the majors. As a team, the Blue Jays are pitching to a 348 earned run average here at Rogers Center. It's 501 on the road. And this is supposed to be a hitter's ballpark. Maybe that's the key, that the pitchers see the ball fly here and they really focus in when they take the mound at Rogers Center.
But they shouldn't shut that down or think differently when they're on the road. I'm not sure why that happens on the road. They just have not made the pitches.
2-0. Breaking ball. Good pitch, boy. That breaking ball seems to be a late breaker tonight.
Yeah, it's not that sweeping one that you see where you could recognize it out of his hand a lot quicker.
This next pitch will be his 25th pitch of the inning. It's been a long inning, and it all started with 2 quick outs. Came right back with the slider.
Do you take a chance here? Pop one inside?
I would.
Fastball inside. We'll see.
Fastball away. Second strikeout of the inning. The 2-out double in the walk. No damage for Hutchison. He strikes out Lucas Duda to end the threat.
Be a member of the Junior Jays Club presented by Boston Pizza. Members receive a Blue Jays cap, stainless steel water bottle, a nylon wallet, as well as front-of-the-line access to run the bases. Membership only $24.99. Sign up today at bluejays.com/kids. Buck?
Front of the line to run the bases is worth it all by itself, so make sure you sign up to Junior Jays Club. Ryan Goins was at the plate when the Blue Jays were caught trying to pull off the double steal. Danny Valencia was tagged as he broke toward home. Kevin Pillar broke to second. Looked like they were trying to steal a run. Looked like there might have been some confusion on the play, but Goins was at the plate, so he starts things off here in the third. Blue Jays have had their problems on the bases lately, especially in New York. Ran into some outs.
And you know what? That's been odd because they've been such a good base running team. They've got one of the highest ratings. Yeah, and they rate that too, base running. Taking extra bases. Their steal percentage, I think there's something like 40 for 47 this season at stolen bases. They've just run the bases well. Lately, not so much.
They are indeed 40 for 47. And they don't have a real fast team, but they pick their spots very effectively.
And they have got a team full of good base runners, so a little surprised with some of the mistakes that they have made.
Well, chopper, and Nice was late getting off the mound. Duda couldn't make the play. Goins has an infield hit to start the inning.
Yeah, even if the first baseman, Lucas Duda, comes up with that ball, he's not going to get Ryan Goins over there at first base. Nice is a left-hander. He falls off towards the third base side. Watch him after this pitch is released. Falls off. A little hesitation. You can see Goins is going to beat him to the bag.
Well, it doesn't take much, but it is a little hesitation as Nice didn't break on contact. Took a while to recognize where that ball was headed, and Goins has a hit. Jose Reyes lined out to the shortstop his first time up. Reyes has hit in 18 of 20 games since coming off the DL.
A little bit better from the left side than the right side.
Oh, what a nice play by Tejada, and he wisely goes to first to retire Reyes. Reyes has been robbed twice already tonight. This time it's Tejada at third that takes extra bases away from Reyes.
First time up, he lined out to the shortstop. Looked like it was going to head into center field. This one looks like it was headed down the left field line. But Tejada is in, guarding against the bunt. Comes up and throws flat-footed all the way across the diamond to get the out. Keep swinging.
Josh Donaldson, the DH tonight. Donaldson has 29 home runs against left-handed pitching since 2013. That's the most in baseball. He loves to see those lefties.
He loves to see that breaking ball coming into him instead of going away from him. You can cheat a little bit more then. When you're facing a left-hander, you can cheat. You don't have to wait that long to protect yourself against the breaking ball because it's coming in towards you.
Donaldson for the season came into this ball game batting .413 against lefty pitching. Surprisingly, that's only second in the American League. Nelson Cruz of the Seattle Mariners hitting .439. Russell Martin is third at .378. We mentioned Danny Valencia batting .405, but he doesn't have enough ABs to qualify for the leaderboard.
He qualifies for mine. 400 is 400. 17 hits this year, 5 extra base hits against lefties. That's good enough for me.
1 ball, 2 strikes. If you're wondering what it takes to qualify for the leaderboard, it's 3.1 plate appearances for every team game. So it only factors in regular players, basically.
Yeah, no platoon playing.
Donaldson chases that high fastball. 2 down. Let's check in with Jamie Campbell. Alex Rodriguez didn't get a chance to play down in Miami without the DH. He's back in there tonight. He's already picked up an RBI, his 33rd. He's also picked up another hit.
2,996 now for A-Rod in his career. He's 4 away. 3,000.
Bautista takes the strike, gets a ball on a strike to the right fielder. Blue Jays looking for a little payback. There's an inside pitch, and we mentioned that the Mets have not challenged Bautista inside. That one was way off the plate inside.
And he was still quick enough to yank that ball way foul.
Tim Leeper is coaching third base. Louis Rivera, the regular third baseman, is away for graduation of his son, and Bautista strikes out on the curveball. A couple of strikeouts to end the third inning for Jonathan Neese. We go to the fourth. Jays have a 1-0 lead.
Zone, our guests of TD. Meanwhile, the Jays Community Clubhouse continues to host many great groups and organizations. Last week we had some very special folks in from Camp Bucko, which is a tremendous camp program for kids with burn injuries. And today we have folks from Camp Aaron, which is an overnight bereavement camp for kids and teens. So always some great special people in the Jays Care Community Clubhouse. Great to see them all out at the ballpark here tonight. Buck?
And that's right. That's you up on the TV. Glad to have you here. And that's one of the many wonderful causes the Jays Care Foundation supports throughout the years. This is Michael Kadire, longtime big leaguer, started out with the Minnesota Twins. He's had a nice career. This is his 15th big league season. He's now 36 years old. Spent 11 years with the Twins, 2001, 2011. Hutchison's got a sneaky fastball tonight.
It's sneaky. You can see it's just registering 91, 92. We've seen a couple of 93s, but the Mets have not been able to pick the ball up. Fastball's been beating a couple of them. I mentioned all the young players that the Mets have. They went out and got Kadire to be a leader in that clubhouse.
Well, they had planned on having a couple of former friends, teammates. David Wright and Michael Kadire. They're from the same area, Chesapeake, Virginia. And they're longtime friends, and I'm sure Wright had a lot to do with Kadire's coming to the Mets. That's an area that has produced David Wright and Michael Kadire, Mark Reynolds, and the two Uptons. They all grew up in that same area of Virginia. There's a drive to center. Pilar coming in quickly, makes a chest-high grab. We told you the Mets are on top of the National League East, and everybody expected that Washington would run away and hide. That's not been the case. The Nationals are 4-6 over the last 10 games, and the Mets have taken advantage of that. They are 6 games over with the lead. Atlanta hanging in there. Miami's been the big disappointment.
I think so. Atlanta's really in a rebuilding mode. Miami, pressure, they've already fired the manager this year.
What's going to happen in Philadelphia?
Time to reload and rebuild.
Boy, what a mess that is.
22 wins. We're in the middle of June. They only have 22 wins. They only have 7 wins on the road.
They are 7-28 on the road. They've lost 8 straight, and last night they gave up 8 home runs to the Baltimore Orioles in Oriole Park at Camden Yards. That's a franchise high in home runs in a game for the Orioles. Travis d'Arnaud swings and misses on the pitch down and away. d'Arnaud came to the Blue Jays in the Roy Halladay trade. That took place in December of 2009. He came along with Kyle Drabek and Michael Taylor. Then he was dealt to the Mets in the R.A. Dickey trade. That too was in December, but December of 2012. Travis d'Arnaud, Noah Syndergaard, John Buck, and Wilmer Becerra all went to the Mets.
The ball is fouled back, and Becerra's starting to show something. He's now 20 years old. He's a young kid. The plan for d'Arnaud is just to play him for a couple of days and then let him sit. They don't want to run him down physically behind the plate. Play him 2 straight days and then have an off day, and then play 2 and then have an off day.
He's dealt with injuries throughout his career. He's coming back from a fractured bone on his left hand. He was hitting and got hit on the left hand. He's also had a broken bone in his foot. And it's just been a injury after injury that has really robbed him of consistent playing time. That's hammered to center, but Pilar has a beat on it. 2 fly balls to center here in the 4th.
Boy, he's played some great center field for the Blue Jays. Looking more comfortable. If Drew Hutchison can keep that ball in that part of the ballpark, he's going to be just fine. A big part of the ballpark.
This is the shortstop, Wilmer Flores. He popped out to the catcher in foul territory. Boy, isn't it interesting when Hutchison is on? He's really on. I think he's just now getting to the point where he has to understand how to pitch when you don't have your best stuff. I mean, when he goes out there and everything is clicking, I mean, it's a cakewalk for him.
Yeah, anybody can do that. I think what he's starting to understand is how to make the adjustments in game. Okay, I just threw that slider and I threw it in the dirt right there. Now can I make the adjustment and go out there, get the ball where I need to make outs? If that fastball is popping up high, can I stay behind it a little bit more? That time he overthrew that one. You can see it's 94. That's the highest that we have seen this year, or this night, on the radar gun.
He is a perfectionist. He's really tough on himself. And he's working hard to get some sort of consistency. There's a high fly ball into shallow left. Reyes, the shortstop, calls for it, makes the catch in fair territory. 3 fly ball outs here in the 4th. 3 up, 3 down inning. Second one of the night for Drew Hutchison.
fast with the Rogers First Rewards MasterCard. You'll earn 5,000 first-use bonus points, redeemable for a $50 gift card from the shopping channel, with no annual fee. Apply today. Buck?
Thank you very much, Barry. What a beautiful night here at Rogers Center. CN Tower high above the stadium. And Bob Guerin, the bench coach of the Mets, told me today he did the edge walk. Did it all by himself today. Of course, he had a guide, but he didn't have any teammates and coaches that went with him. But he was happy to explain to me, yeah, I did that. He goes, you did that before, huh? I said, yeah, I did. I said, you like it? He said he loved it.
I'm still trying to forget it.
Yeah, I told him that's the last time I'd do it. He said, oh, I'd do it again. But I admired him. He went up there by himself and signed up, took all the safety equipment, put it on, and he was up there like those people. Broken bat shattered to the shortstop, and Encarnacion is retired on the ground now. But there you see the people on the edge walk, and they tell you, lean back and relax. Yeah, right. Those two words don't go together when you're up there.
Not when you're up there. He picked a beautiful day to go up there.
Oh, man, you could see for days.
I was scared when I leaned back for the first time.
You and me both. Now, Bobby went up there and said he enjoyed it. Got a great view. Former manager of the Oakland A's, now the bench coach of the Mets. So this is Chris Colabello. Colabello takes a breaking ball, caught the outside corner. We mentioned qualifying for the leaderboard. Colabello's batting .342. That would place him second in the American League. But coming into this game, he's 44 plate appearances shy of qualifying. The .342 average would put him in second place in the American League behind Miguel Cabrera, who's batting .345.
That's what happens when you miss the first month of the season, right? You fall behind, but he has picked it up. He's looked good. He hasn't looked out of place at all.
This is chopped off home play, and it's a bouncing ball that kicks foul. That was the good fortune for Nice. That ball had a lot of English on it, as that ball kicked to the left.
He had a base hit like that in last night's game, a swinging bunt, if you will. Tejada had no chance to make the play, and it looked like he was going to have the same type of play, same kind of base hit. But the difference between this stadium and Citi Field, the turf. The turf ate this one up. Watch this thing take a left-handed turn as soon as it hits the ground. Right? Whoop there. See ya.
Fair to foul in a heartbeat. 2-2 to Colabello. Strike three call. Colabello thought it might have been low. 2 down. Let's check in with Jamie Campbell. The more and more you hear talk about Philadelphia, they're talking about major overhaul mid-season. Could be GM, could be manager, could be the whole 9 yards.
What can they do, though? They've got a lot of aging ball players on huge contracts. You just can't move them.
No.
And they've traded away a lot of their young players to get to where they were a couple of years ago, so the farm system's a little bare. Yeah,
the farm system's very barren, that's for sure. Well, they have 2 chips that everybody seems to want, Cole Hamels and Jonathan Papelbon. Russell Martin hits it to the shortstop floor as Matt Kentz throws him out. 3 up, 3 down. We move to the 4th, 1-0 Blue Jays. Now time for a Blue Jays Central update. Here's Jamie Campbell and Greg Zahn.
Day, presented by Jack Links. It goes Sunday, June 28th, when the Blue Jays host the Texas Rangers at 107. The first 20,000 fans will receive one of these great retro white panel Blue Jays hats. Go to BlueJays.com for tickets. Buck, while you were gone, Tabby and I have pulled ourselves together. We've got to kind of get the Blue Jays to get on board with us and go with these on Sundays. What do you think?
I think it's a great idea. I like the look. I think it's one that many Blue Jay fans will remember fondly, and I'll vote for that. So that's 3 votes in favor of the white panel hats.
Doesn't have to be on special occasions, just on Sundays.
Just on Sundays, be nice. I know a lot of the Blue Jay players want to wear the blue tops on the road as an alternative uniform. Fans, they buy into anything. They got all kinds of different combinations of Blue Jay hats and jerseys. Dale Siciliani, the left fielder, cuts on the first pitch. You can see there's those white panel hats. They're very popular. Well, Hutchison has got that slider dialed in tonight.
Yeah, down and away, especially to the left-handers. They found a little bit of a hole against Siciliani, a little fastball up. Got him last time.
Siciliani was batting .336 in AAA Las Vegas when he was called up. He had 7 doubles, 3 triples, 5 homers, and 17 RBIs for Las Vegas. Just inside. 2-2. 7-8-9 for the Mets here in the 5th. Boy, he has got that outside corner zeroed in. Another strikeout. Let's check in with Jamie Campbell. Kirk Sally, the catcher, just called up. Tampa Bay off to a good start to their season.
Steven Souza homered in that game, didn't he?
Made a great catch, too.
They mentioned it was Jordan Zimmerman. Wasn't it Jordan Zimmerman on the mound with the no-hitter that Souza saved last year?
Yeah,
so
it was.
How does it repay him? It's a
Takes
home
one
run
away.
It's a home run against him.
There's a drive deep to left field. Colabello is not going to get this one. It bounces off the base of the wall. Tejada is headed for second. He gets there standing up with a 1-out double.
Make your renovation a cut above during the DIY Expert Sale. Only at Home Building Center and Home Hardware Building Center.
Drew Hutchison with the fastball. They want that one away. It's a little bit up and it's a little bit in. And Tejada doesn't have a lot of power, just 1 home run. Puts a charge into that one for extra bases.
His 10th double of the season. This is Dilson Herrera, the second baseman. Tim Tuffle, the third base coach, trying to get Tejada to get a bigger lead at second. He's encouraging him to take advantage of the Blue Jays infield defense.
Infielders playing a little bit deep, so they're not ducking in behind that runner at second base.
Tuffle's got an unusual position there at third base. He's checking out the outfield defense and says, get yourself a little bit bigger lead.
Right there. You can see it.
Herrera fouls it back. 2-1. And now you see Russell Martin bringing that to the attention of the infielders.
He doesn't miss much, does he? And now Ryan Goins getting a little bit closer to that runner at second base just to keep him closer to the bag.
Herrera fouls it into the seats. It's now 2 balls and 2 strikes. Blue Jays with a 1-0 lead. The Jays lost 2 in New York, 4-3 in extra innings on Monday, 3-2 to the Mets on Tuesday. And that's quite a departure from what they have been scoring as far as runs.
Well, they ran into two really good pitchers.
Just barely foul outside the third base bag.
You know, and if you have any thoughts of contending or trying to win, you're going to have to beat good pitching. So you can't make mistakes. Blue Jays made a couple of mistakes that hurt them, where they could have won both of those games, I thought.
Base running mistake when Pilar ran over to third base and Goins has occupied third. And then Encarnacion in the second inning tried to advance on a ground ball to the shortstop. He was thrown out. Those are the little things that will cost you ball games against good pitching.
Yeah, against good pitching with good bullpens, good starters, all that kind of stuff. Those are the little things that you have to clean up just a little bit if you have any thought of winning your division, getting into the playoffs, things like that.
Full count, 1 out. Curtis Granderson is on deck. Cut on and fouled into the catcher's mitt. Martin hangs on for the strikeout. That's 5 strikeouts for Hutchison.
Riser, the rising fastball again. Looked like the Mets have had trouble picking up that pitch. That one might even have been a cutter right there, but it was up. And he picks up the strikeout. Now he's got a base open and a left-handed hitter, Granderson, who doubled last time. So be careful.
Granderson swung on the first pitch in his first at-bat, flied out. Takes this one in the dirt. Granderson is traditionally a very patient hitter. Didn't swing at a lot of pitches early in the count, but he tried to ambush that first pitch of the ball game.
There was a time in his career when he first came up, you could pitch to him. He would get a lot of strikeouts, a ton of strikeouts. You could pound him inside. Well, he's closed those holes up in his swing.
He credits Kevin Long with making those adjustments, and you mentioned the 2 40 home run seasons he had in New York. And Kevin Long did a terrific job with that Yankee team for so many years.
He is quieter at the plate, Curtis. Used to have a lot of movement as the pitch was getting ready to come towards home plate. Now he's a lot quieter, just using his hands. 3-0.
Granderson led the American League in runs scored in 2011. He also led in RBIs. It's a loud strike on a 3-0 pitch. Granderson was the Silver Slugger Award winner in 2011. He finished 4th in the MVP voting. That's when he had a terrific year for the Yankees. Three and 1. Little chopper off home plate. Now it's a full count. Center fielder Juan Lagares is on deck. Couldn't get that fastball by him. Granderson is now 34 years old. We mentioned he is in his 12th big league season. Hutchison in his 57th career start. Changeup lifted into foul territory. That'll reach the seats.
No one's going to catch that. And Hutch is not doubling up on any of his pitches right now. It's going fastball, changeup, back and forth, trying to get Granderson. Now, if he ends up walking him, no harm, no foul, right?
Got a right-handed bat on deck.
Take your chance with him. Granderson can hurt you. So he's pounding him in with that high fastball, and he's going down the way with the changeup.
Broke his bat. Popped him up. Reyes waits at second base, makes the catch. The Mets strand a base runner. Hutchison through 5 has a 1-0 lead.
All-Star game, it's time for you to get out and vote. The game goes Tuesday, July 14th in Cincinnati, Ohio. Donaldson looking to be a starter for the American League. Fans can vote a maximum of 35 times per email address. Go to BlueJays.com and show your support with the hashtag VoteBlueJays. Buck, while you were gone, Don Cherry began a campaign, as did actor Stephen Amell. Everyone is getting on board to try to help Donaldson get to the All-Star game.
Well, he's certainly a worthy All-Star, that's for sure, and you got to make sure he gets on that team. So get out and vote, get online and vote. Josh Donaldson needs to be there in Cincinnati representing the Blue Jays.
We only have about, 3 more weeks of voting, something like that? The first week of July, they get the votes too. So let's go.
Going to end quickly. Danny Valencia chops it foul outside of third. Oh, and 2. He went around. Valencia strikes out, first out of the 5th inning.
You know what Jonathan Neese has done tonight as we watch him now work in the 5th inning? He's pitched. He has used his breaking ball when he needs to. He's been able to throw that fastball up high like that to get the batter's chase. He's pounded him inside when he needs to. He's pitched. He hasn't just gone out there and just chucked the ball up there. He has done a good job of mixing it up.
He sure has, and he now has 5 strikeouts. He has matched Drew Hutchison in that department. This is Kevin Pillar. He had an RBI single. He's driven in the only run of the ball game. That's just foul. That hit about 6 inches foul in front of the bag at third.
Tejada, the third baseman, in, respecting a bunt. You don't normally see right-handed batters bunting against left-handed pitching. You just don't get that many. You can see he is in. So that ball is by him and just foul.
There's a little flare that's going to drop into center field. Pillar is 2 for 2.
The 2015 Honda Civic is Canada's best-selling car for 17 years in a row and the official vehicle of the Toronto Blue Jays.
Kevin Pillar had 7 hits on the road trip, a .350 average, 7 for 20. He's 2 for 2 already tonight. Pillar's average now at .255. Pillar broke with Valencia at third in the 2nd inning. They tried to steal a run. And Valencia was caught in a rundown, tagged out to end the inning. That was when the Blue Jays scored the only run of this game in the second.
So Blue Jays are trying to push it, try to make something offensively happen. You could see him do a hit and run here. We have seen John Gibbons used Ryan Goins in the hit and run.
Goins taps that one foul. It's a ball and a strike. Goins has had another fine defensive night early in this ball game. He made 2 outstanding plays early on, 2 in the first and 1 in the second to start that inning. That's a base hit. That's got a chance to get by. Granderson cuts it off. Pilar goes to third. Here's the throw to second, and Goins is tagged out. Boy, another base running mistake there by Goins. That was an easy play for Granderson, who picks up his 6th assist from the outfield.
Yeah, he leads the team in outfield assists right there, and that's just running right into an out. The play is right in front of you. Again, the ball's going to slow down on the turf like that, so instead of first and third, 1 out in the top of the lineup up, you got third base and 2 outs as that ball is hit hard, and it looks like it has a chance, but it's going to slow down. Again, your play is right in front of you. Good job by Herrera, the second baseman, to let that ball go through. Reading that ball, the throw from Granderson. This is the isolation on Ryan Goins, and now he's thinking 2, which is good. But right there, you put the brakes on. There's nobody at first base, so you can take the wide turn and then just read the throw.
That was a big out, second out of the inning. Pilar had easily breezed first to third. Goins was looking right at Granderson. He had a chance to put the brakes on. Reyes has hit the ball sharply twice, has nothing to show for it. This time he pops it up. This is playable. Duda in foul territory, and the Blue Jays waste a couple of hits here in the 5th. We'll go to the 6th, still a 1-0 game. Here comes the Home Hardware Cleanup Crew. Brought to you by Natura. Home Hardware's exclusive line of safe, environmentally friendly cleaning products.
Out. They put the stop sign up, but Kevin Pilar doesn't get it. He's going to be eventually tagged out between second and third base, and the Blue Jays only scored 2 runs. And then tonight it looked like a double steal. And the Mets played a good defense, and they end up finishing off that play with the third baseman tagging him out. And then this one right here, this one looked like it was going to lead to a run for the Blue Jays. A little over anxious, and he is caught at second base. So instead of first and third, 1 out, it's man on third, with 2 outs, and they do not score once again. So Blue Jays base running has been poor,
and that's going to hurt you in 1-run games. And you play a good team with good defense, those running mistakes are going to cost you outs, and you can't afford to give away outs. Juan Lagares bunts it, but foul.
You're right, in one-run games. And you're facing a team, the Mets, with a lot of good pitchers. So the games are going to be close. They've played a lot of close games. So you can't beat yourself. You gotta take advantage of situations and play solid fundamental baseball.
The Mets are 13-9 in one-run games, and there's a liner to left. Colabello dives and makes the catch. Colabello has worked hard on his defense. He was out early this afternoon taking balls off the bat from Tim Leeper, and right there he saves a base hit.
Got a nice read on that ball. That's a sinking liner. You can see the top spin. And Chris Colabello plucks that one out of the air, get that all-important first out of an inning.
So Lagares is out. Lucas Duda, the first baseman. The Mets have 3 hits. The Blue Jays have 4. Jays have scored the only run in this game. Duda is 0 for 2 with a strikeout. That's a foul ball, just barely foul. That ball didn't slice as much as everybody thought it was. Third base umpire going down to have a look. That's Mike Mulchinski, who went down the line to have a look at it.
When that ball left the bat, that one looked like it was heading to the stands, didn't it? How many times have you seen a big left-handed hitter like that, inside out that ball, and it slices into the stands? But that one stayed true right down the line, and that was close.
Look how close it is. Well, that's hard to tell, fair or foul. In the old days, it might have kicked up some chalk. That's pitch 100 for Drew Hutchison, and we're just in the 6th inning. Hutch has 5 strikeouts to his credit. Duda struck out to end the 3rd.
Been able to backdoor that slider to those left-handers.
This is a high pop. Danny Valencia, the third baseman, over near the seats. He gets there and makes the catch. 2 down. Valencia starting at third base in place of Josh Donaldson tonight. Donaldson, the DH. Danny Valencia came up as a third baseman with the Minnesota Twins. Hutchison drives home that first pitch for a strike. Strike 2.
Even though he's over 100 pitches, he's still throwing.
Yeah, you know what? And that is such an artificial ceiling, that 100-pitch limit. 3 in a row didn't work to Kadire. He drives it into center. Pillar's going to have to hustle. Here's the throw to the bag, and it's offline. Kadire slides in safely. Trying to sneak that third fastball by Michael Kadire, and he didn't do it.
Yeah, not a smart move there. He's just too good of a hitter, too smart. He has been around. They wanted it down and away, and it's right there. And that's laced into left center field. Pillar has a shot, but it's just offline. It's an extra base hit for the Mets, and looks like John Gibbons is going to go to his bullpen.
Hutchison is out. It's a 1-0 game. The runner at second, his responsibility. Steve Delabar comes in the ballgame to face Travis d'Arnaud. Cubs have done a good job of developing some young players, as they have Chris Bryant, and now Schwarber comes up. He's 2 for 3 tonight. Steve Delabar is really on a hot streak lately. He made 3 appearances on the road trip, didn't allow a run.
Yeah, they are his numbers in 14 games this year. 2-0 with a 132 earned run average. They made a couple of changes to the way he holds the ball in the stretch right here. His hands are just a little bit higher. That helps him to stay on time just a little bit more. So it helps him to stay on top of the fastball. You can see the hands a little bit higher. And he has helped him to get on top of that fastball. He's been driving it in the strike zone.
Drew Hutchison, disappointed he couldn't get through 6 innings. Looking for some help out of the bullpen. Delabar jumps ahead 1-2 to Travis Dorno. The Mets catcher's 0 for 2. Kadire at second with the double. Bouncing ball. Valencia takes his time. The inning is over. Delabar comes in and strands the inherited base runner. He keeps it a 1-0 Blue Jays lead as we head to the bottom of the 6th. Things off. We're talking about third base OPS, and third base is a power position, Pat. You see a lot of good OPS numbers at third.
Mike Moustakas and Manny Machado at 855, but there's Josh Donaldson, number 1 at 895. Power and production, get on base and drive in runs and show off that extra base pop. You're right, third base is, and Josh Donaldson this year I think has been the best in the American League.
Donaldson for his career has an 822 OPS, so he's having an above average season so far. Waits on that breaking ball. This is going to split the outfielders and roll all the way to the wall in center. Donaldson with the leadoff double here in the 6th. He had struck out twice on high fastballs. He got a breaking ball and didn't miss it.
Teams have been throwing a lot of off-speed pitches to Josh, especially early in the count. This time he waits on it, he sees it, smokes that ball up the gap in left center field and hustles for extra bases. Speaking of extra base hits, he's up there also.
33 extra base hits for Donaldson at second to Brian Dozier of the Twins. 2 more bases for Donaldson. He leads the American League with 148 total bases. Bautista's 0 for 2. Blue Jays need to add to their 1-0 lead. Ball on the strike.
Right on the corner.
Bautista with 41 RBIs on the season. He's starting to get back to where we expect him to be among the leaders. He has made his way into the top 10.
13 doubles, 13 home runs. That one just off the plate. There's Tim Leeper coaching third base. He was telling me today, in one calendar year, he's coached third base before as a minor league manager. He coached 255 games one season at third base, so he knows all about that position. There's only 365 days in a year.
And Cohen's the assistant hitting coach, has taken over to coach first base. Louis Rivera, the regular third base coach, is away to attend the graduation of his child. 2-2, nobody out. Bautista lays off that high pitch, no swing according to Mark Whitner. But minor league managers, they coach third base every day. So when you're managing in the minor leagues, like Leeper has done in the past, he's out there every day.
Coach third base in the World Baseball Classic.
Bautista takes ball 4.
Make your renovation a cut above during the DIY Expert Sale. Only at Home Building Center and Home Hardware Building Center.
Short meeting at the mound. Travis d'Arnaud called the infielders together just to go over their options here. They're not going to bunt, I can tell you that.
No, they're not going to bunt. So that must have been we're going to change the signs kind of thing here. Everybody in the ballpark knows Edwin Encarnacion swinging away.
Edwin is 0 for 2, popped out and grounded out. We mentioned the Blue Jays, the most prolific offense in the majors. They've scored 361 runs. Just 1 run tonight, 362.
Edwin at times will sit on pitches, sit on breaking balls or certain pitches, and then get caught like that. A couple fastballs right there.
0-2. Breaking ball, a 3-pitch strikeout for Nice. 1 down. Let's check in with Jamie Campbell. Michael Pineda, 5 innings of no-hit ball. 2 walks and 8 strikeouts for the Yankees.
Back. Looking strong.
Chris Colabello, he has scored the only run of this game. And here he drives it up the middle. That's a base hit. Donaldson's coming around third. He's going to score. Bautista goes first to third, and Colabello has added to the Blue Jays lead. RBI number 23 for the Blue Jays left fielder.
You know, he just finds a way in tough situations to get that run home. That time it was a single back through the middle. I like that game winner he had against the Houston Astros earlier this month. Breaking ball, stay back, get enough of it, and hit it right back through the middle. That might be the best pitch you see right there. First pitch swinging, and he finds a way. Once again, Bautista makes his way to third base. Donaldson crosses with the second run. No need to take any pitches when you've got guys in scoring position.
Russell Martin now with runners at the corners. He's not taken. Boy, Colabello's presence has really added some depth and insurance in this lineup. Encarnacion struck out, but now he doesn't feel so bad because Colabello picked him up, got that runner in.
I like those guys behind the power hitters who are good hitters. They have high average.
Bouncing ball to third. Tejada to second. Herrera back to first. Double play. But the Blue Jays add a run. A leadoff double by Donaldson. An RBI single by Colabello. It's 2-0 Blue Jays. We head to the 7th. Rogers Blue Jays baseball partnership and may not be reproduced or retransmitted in any form. Any accounts and descriptions of this game may not be disseminated without the express written consent of Rogers Blue Jays baseball partnership. Josh Donaldson scores the second run of the ball game. He had a leadoff double in the sixth. Chris Colabello knocked him in. 2-0 ball game. Drew Hutchison in line for the win. Steve Delabar came on to close out the sixth. Colabello picking up his 23rd RBI of the season to make it a 2-0 game. Wilmer Flores, the shortstop, takes a first pitch strike at the knees. Delabar's throwing the ball very well.
Yeah, he's throwing that fastball over for strikes. You can see the timing much better. With his setup, hands are a little bit higher. His splitter, he's got a little bit more depth, and he's throwing it for strikes. He's throwing more sliders.
Boy, isn't that interesting how a subtle move of raising his hands about chest high has allowed him to get on top of that baseball, and the results have been impressive.
Been very impressive, and the timing has been. So kudos to Pete Walker and to Steve Delabar to figure that out and to put their work in.
Pete Walker sensed that there was something missing in Delabar's pitches. There wasn't the crispness to the pitches, and boy, he's gotten it back. The splitters he's thrown this inning have been terrific.
This is a lot like the Steve Delabar we saw a couple of years ago. There's the slider that he's thrown a little bit more of.
Delabar was an all-star and pitched at Citi Field 2013. Even that pitch, you could see the late movement on the splitter, how it had some good depth to it as it got to home plate. Seventh inning, 2-0 ball game. Flores goes after that high pitch. Aaron Loup, the lefty, starting to crank it up. Oh, good fastball. He strikes out Flores to start the seventh. Delabar has allowed hits in just 4 outings this year, and this fastball has got some life in it.
Big time. Look how he gets on top of that one. And now the whole body is working together. He would get out of sorts a little bit, where the lower half would go a little bit too quick. The arm just couldn't catch up, and you saw a lot of pitches zoom up in the strike zone. Now he's on time. Look at that.
88. Bottom dropped out of that splitter. Boy, this would be a terrific step forward for the Blue Jays bullpen if Delabar can recapture the form he had 2 years ago. And he looks like the same pitcher.
Came back up. He has put his work in. And they obviously have hit on something.
Daryl Siciliani, the left fielder, and that's a strike 3. Back-to-back strikeouts for Delabar. He's retired 3 straight.
Third time that the Blue Jays have gotten Siciliani on strikes. He was looking for the breaking ball and got that heater.
Ruben Tejada, the third baseman, steps in. He has doubled in 2 at-bats. There's Ryan Goins. The inning is over. Steve Delabar retired all 4 batters he's faced through 7. Valencia, Pilar, and Goins when we come back.
Rogers Ignite bundles. Find out how. Call 1-888-ROGERS-1 now. Hurry. Offer ends soon.
Thank you very much, Barry Davis. And we head to the bottom of the 7th, 2-0 Blue Jays as they're trying to snap their mini 2-game losing streak. The Mets took both games in New York, and they are playing back-to-back 2-game series. Danny Valencia has walked and struck out. John Neese coming into this game 3-6 for the season. That's maybe a tad low. Valencia thought so.
Tell you what, he's the best 3-6 pitcher I've seen.
Boy, he's been good, hasn't he?
Yeah, he has made pitches. Pitched much better ball game last time out as he breaks another bat. 7 innings and 2 earned runs. And he's into the 7th inning again here. His fastball's been real sneaky. I really get the suspicion that the Blue Jay batters are surprised by the speed of his fastball.
Yeah, when you look at the average fastball around baseball, Mark Burley pitches with the slowest fastball, just over 83 miles an hour, but Neese is in the bottom 10 in velocity, and he's pitched very effectively. We all know how well Mark Burley can pitch with that slow fastball. Kevin Pillar puts a charge in it. This one's high and deep and gone. Kevin Pillar, a perfect 3-for-3 night. Home run number 3 for the center fielder.
Tell you what, he's seeing the ball off of John Neese. He has looked very comfortable. Dumped a couple of singles. One to right field, one to center field, and then jumps all over that first offering here in the 7th inning. That was a no-doubter to left field.
A little cushion for the Blue Jays, now 3-0. Ryan Goins bunts at it, and it's a breaking ball for a strike.
One more time, let's take a look at it. Changeup. Stays back. And then goes right through it. Started leaking forward, Pillar did, but he kept his hands back and then generated enough power to hammer that ball to left field.
This is his 3rd 3-hit game of the season. He now has 31 RBIs for the season.
Just keeps getting better and better in my book.
He had a disappointing May. He had 181 in the month of May, but he's bounced back very well here in June.
Tell you what, it's never hurt his defense.
No, he's never carried his batting situation out to the field. Pillar's average at 258 with a 3-hit game. Check swing and the appeal down to 3rd as Ryan takes first base on the walk. Let's check in with Jamie Kemp. Only the 4th home run of the season for Christian Yelich. That breaks up the no-hitter. Pineda has 9 strikeouts through 6 2/3. Brian Goins has been on base all 3 times. He has 2 singles and walked. So the 8-9 hitters have been on base 6 times tonight.
5 for 5 with a run scored. You know, the Blue Jays' number 9 hitters have the highest batting average in the American League. It was Devin Travis early in the season. Now Ryan Goins getting the job done.
Jose Reyes has had a much better night than the box score might indicate. He's 0 for 3, but boy, he's hit the ball hard twice. Lined out to the shortstop in the 1st inning and was robbed of an extra base hit by the third baseman, Tejada. Herrera back to first in time. Nice dig by Lucas Duda at first, but with one out, Kevin Pillar capping off a big 3-for-3 night. Goes deep against John Neese. Home run number 3. Blue Jays with a 3-0 lead.
His best-selling car for 17 years in a row and the official vehicle of the Toronto Blue Jays.
Right-hander Liam Hendricks into the ballgame for his 24th game of the season. Hendricks has really thrown the ball well of late, and right-handers don't stand much of a chance against Hendricks.
Not with that combination of the fastball, the hard slider. Last time he pitched was 2 days ago. Only faced one batter through one pitch. That was to Wilmer Flores. That was the walk-off base hit back through the middle. So he's got a little redemption here in the 8th inning, a chance to get the Mets.
Steve Delabar, a terrific outing. Ezequiel Carrera moves into left field for Chris Colabello. Colabello had a good night, 1 for 2 with a walk. He scored a run and drove in a run. So Hendricks will face 9-1-2 here in the 8th. 3-0 Jays. Dilson Herrera, the second baseman, 0 for 2, a couple of strikeouts. Two and out. There's a strike. Blue Jays are trying to break a couple of trends here tonight. They are 3-27 when they score 5 or fewer runs. It's fewer than 5 runs. That's just been that magic number. They don't score 5 runs. It's been a grind trying to win games. And they're also 4-16 without hitting a home run, but they've hit a home run tonight with Pillar's home run. But that magic number is 4 runs or more. There's a leadoff single for Herrera.
Well,
so that'll turn the lineup over.
They could lock it down right here. Set up for him. 3-run lead in the 8th inning. This is a team, though, the Mets, that they've had a lot of come from behind wins this year. It seems to like the big stage late in a ball game.
Well, they're on Broadway. They love the dramatics. Curtis Granderson takes a pitch inside. fouls it straight back. Well, there's a good breaking ball. 1-2.
For him to save that one with 2 strikes, to show him that breaking ball with two strikes. So now Granderson has seen it. Now you got to figure out, okay, where do I go to now to get the out? Lots of defensive shifting going on in that Blue Jay dugout.
Came right back with it, and Granderson couldn't lay off. Hendricks strikes out the leadoff man, Curtis Granderson. 1 down now.
Give up that leadoff single. You got to get the next guy, and reaches back for a little something more. There is that breaking ball, and Granderson sees it and then swings over the top of it.
Juan Magarris, the center fielder. There goes the runner, Herrera. The throw from Martin is a strong one, but not in time. Just the second stolen base for Herrera. He got a good jump at first.
He got a very good jump over there at first base. They will time up that pitcher to see how long it takes. Watch him. Just 2 for 2. Strong throw. Everything, but he is safe. Goins, the tag. Watch, he's very quick with that tag. He's down, but he's already on the base.
Yeah, looks like his hand was on the bag before he put the glove. Martin made a quick throw. Boy, he has been great all season long on throwing out base runners.
17. He's thrown out 17 base runners. That's the most in the American League this year. That time I didn't think he had a shot at all.
17 of 41 now as Herrera picks up the stolen base. Watch Russell Martin's right foot. Before he gets the ball, he got himself into throwing position so he could have a quick release. You can't see many pitchers do that. They're not athletic enough. But Martin credits Yadier Molina of the Cardinals with that move. Martin picked it up from Molina. Pilar's got room. Tagging it second is Herrera, and he'll advance to third. But now there are 2 outs. But Russell is so athletic behind the plate. We have seen him do some unorthodox things, but he does them with ease. So Hendricks gets Lagares to fly out. Lucas Duda, a left-handed bat, is the scheduled hitter. John Gibbons has made the call to the bullpen. Aaron Loop will come into the game to face Lucas Duda with 2 outs. Car 17 years in a row in the official vehicle of the Toronto Blue Jays.
I'm going to do something a little bit different. We're always showing you home runs. Well, how about this foul ball from Jose Bautista down the left field line and moves around and bounces all the way down to Dad. He finds it. He says, okay, we got a ball all the way up here in this deck. Let me give it to my youngest daughter right here. She knows what to do with it. Oh, see ya. That's right down there. Well, that's where it came from, Dad, but the fans get him back and they said, outstanding job. Okay, I've already given it to my youngest here. I'm going to give it to the responsible one right there. She's going to hold on to it, and everybody's going to have a lot of fun and get to go home with a baseball.
Well, that's what they do, Dad. They throw the baseballs, and I thought I was supposed to throw it.
That's where it came from, right? Aaron Loup into the ballgame for the 30th time this season. There are numbers that Aaron has put up. He has been putting up some impressive numbers. You can see left-handers just a 182 average against Loup. And that's why he's in this ball game. He is in great shape. This is the best shape that he has ever been in, I'll tell you, and it's showing right now. His fastball's got a little bit more life to it. His slider's just a little bit better. Trying to strand that runner over there at third base.
Herrera stole second base and moved to third on the fly ball off the bat of Lagares. 2-0 to Lucas Duda. Michael Kadire, right-handed bat, is on deck. Lopez stranded 8 of 11 inherited base runners. There's a high fly ball to right. Bautista didn't see it right off the bat, but now he has it, and Luke is out of the inning. Luke will leave a base runner stranded at third. We'll head to the bottom of the 8th. Blue Jays have a 3-0 lead. Now time for a Blue Jays Central update. Here's Jamie Campbell and Greg Zahn.
July the 14th. Get online and vote now. Mike Moustakas continues to lead by over 1.5 million votes, but think about the amount of people in the city of Kansas City and what we have in the entire country of Canada. Get out there and vote right now. He's had a lot of support for some big names, and he needs your help. Go to BlueJays.com, use the hashtag VoteBlueJays to show your support, and let's send Josh Donaldson to Kansas City as a starter for the All-Star game. Buck?
Barry, there are 33 million people in Canada, and if we get them all to vote, it'll be a no contest for Josh Donaldson. So let's go, fans. Let's get on the bandwagon and get Josh Donaldson that starting spot at the All-Star game. Josh is going to lead things off here against the new pitcher, Akil Morris, who's making his major league debut, Pat.
Akil Morris was an A-ball this past week, just 22 years old. He was in St. Lucie, Florida. That's the Florida State League. He's got a good fastball and a nice curveball and an excellent changeup. There it is right there, his first big league pitch. That changeup was taught to by the Mets minor league coach Hector Barrios, and it's about 15 miles per hour difference from his fastball. It's a good one. And he gets his first taste of the big leagues.
He is from St. Thomas. He's 22 years old. He's from St. Thomas in the Virgin Islands. Ball and a strike to Josh Donaldson.
The Mets have had a lot of work out of their bullpen, so they needed a fresh arm, and Morris is on the 40-man roster, so that's why he's here pitching in the Florida State League, so he gets a taste of the major leagues.
92, but outside. It's 3-1 to Donaldson. Donaldson scored a run in the 6th, and that bullpen for the Mets has been used a lot lately. Bobby Parnell pitched very well for them. Just his 3rd appearance since coming back from Tommy John.
Looked like Josh wanted to welcome him to the big leagues with a big fly.
Woo. Donaldson scored that run in the 6th. It gives him 53 runs scored for the season. That's the best in the American League. Threw him a 3-2 changeup and missed. Donaldson walks to start the inning. Morris was in St. Lucie in that Florida State League. He was the closer. He appeared in 24 games, had 13 saves. He given up 11 hits in 32 innings. He showed good control, 14 walks and 46 strikeouts. So now they're going to get another pitcher up. Bautista 0 for 2 with a walk.
I don't know if he's faced these type of hitters, these 3 hitters here, like the Blue Jays are going to have this inning. Donaldson, Bautista, and Encarnacion in the Florida State League. I love this. I love when kids come up and they say, okay, let's see what you can do. You can't go to a higher league.
No. He pitched as a 17-year-old in the Gulf Coast League for the Mets. This is his 6th season in professional baseball. He began his career as a starter. That changeup just won't get down where he wants it to be. Heart's probably pumping a little quicker.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Bautista had a good rip of the fastball. Hit that right into the Mets TV booth. Ron Darling and Keith Hernandez.
Oh, I'm sure they caught that. This pitch right down the middle. Bautista wanted that one back.
Full count. Donaldson at first, nobody out. Another good cut. Bounce that ball in the dirt. Back-to-back walks here in the 8th. The pitching coach, Dan Wharton, is out of the Mets dugout. Going to have a chat with the youngster, see if he can't help him out. Calm those nerves a bit. He has walked both batters he's faced in his major league debut.
Where do you go to when you're a young kid like that and you're throwing a fastball? It's 3-2, and you got one of the best home run hitters in all of baseball at the plate. Tried to trick him with a slider, 3-2.
Don't have that command yet.
Not yet.
Dan Wharton is in his 8th season as the pitching coach for the Mets. Actually pitched for Montreal 75 through 77, so his name is familiar to a lot of baseball fans in Canada. Port St. Lucie in the Florida State League, 24 games, a 169 earned run average and a whip of 0.78. That earned him the promotion. Now he wants to go over the signs once again.
Yeah, that's one of the things they forgot to talk about when the pitching coach came out there, what they're going to use with the runner at second base. Make it as easy as possible on him. He's got enough to think about right here. Let's just go with the second sign. So if you put down 4 signs, it's just the second one.
Just the second one. Don't get too complicated. Bouncing ball. Tejada goes to second. Herrera with the good pivot. He's off the bag. Good slide by Bautista at second to break up the double play. Herrera could make a strong throw as Bautista came in hard at the bag at second to break up the double play.
You know, we talked about that with runners at first and second. Jose gets such a big lead at first base for that reason right there, just to get into that second baseman or shortstop to break up a double play. Now a long fly ball get the Blue Jays another run.
Ezequiel Carrera came in defensively for Chris Colabello. He'll get his first at bat. Justin Smoke takes over as a pinch runner at first for Encarnacion. Donaldson at third. Carrera his first at bat of the night. And he bunts it up the first base line. That's going to get a run in and be a base hit. Oh, good job by Carrera as he pushed the butt up the first baseline. Donaldson scores his second run of the night, and the Blue Jays have added to their lead.
I like it. Heads up play right there by Carrera. You get the bunt down. The worst that's going to happen is a run's going to score and you're going to have a runner at second base. The whole thing works out beautifully for the Blue Jays. They get the run in, they get the runner to second base, and Carrera's going to beat it out. Some miscommunication over there between pitcher, first baseman, and the second baseman. He throws it to nobody.
Ground ball up the middle, through for a base hit. Smoke's going to be waved around, and there's not going to be a throw. Russell Martin with an RBI single. Carrera goes first to third. Smoke scores the second run of the inning. It's 5-0 Blue Jays.
There's a four-seamer, four-seam fastball, and Russell hits it right off the end of the bat. Doesn't hit it that hard, but finds a way to get it through the infield, out into center field. Carrera goes to third, no play anywhere. Blue Jays tacking on some big insurance runs here late in the game.
Smoke scores from second base. Danny Valencia takes strike one. Still just one out. The Mets were hopeful that Morris could get through the 8th inning unscathed. That's not the case. Valencia puts a charge in it high and deep and out of here. Danny Valencia with his third home run of the season. And the Blue Jays have busted it wide open here in the 8th.
You know, it just took a couple of batters to see that young Morris likes to go to that changeup, and that's what he threw to Valencia right there, and that got the bat head out there. Sped it up, and he crushed it. 3 more runs. It's another 5-run inning for the Blue Jays.
Big inning for the Jays once again. Kevin Pillar, 3 for 3 so far tonight.
Change up. See you later. Home run for Valencia. His 3rd of the season.
Kevin Pillar hits a high fly ball down the left field line. Siciliani gets over and makes the catch. Shoot down. Akil Morris making his major league debut here tonight.
And it's up. He's going to learn a lot about the big leagues. You know, and now you just have to leave him in there and let him finish it off and gain some experience here. You make mistakes here in the big leagues, and ball doesn't come back.
Five runs in this inning. Back-to-back walks really creating a problem for Morris. That started the inning. He walked Donaldson and walked Bautista. There's a strike, 3-1 to Ryan Goins. Goins has had a good night at the plate. And an infield single to right and walked. That'll be the third walk issued by Morris here in the 8th. And Blue Jays going to have a bat around inning, and that's going to be it for Akil Morris. His major league debut, not exactly what he envisioned. Terry Collins out to make the pitching change. So the Blue Jays, 5 runs here in the 8th, have taken a commanding 8-0 lead.
Tim and Sid will edutain the sports masses as our new show premieres on Sportsnet. Connect online 24/7 at Tim and Sid. And guys, the boys will be here at tomorrow night's game, so we'll have to get a read on exactly what this show is supposed to be about. It's been the $1 million secret. I think we are all excited to see what it's going to be like.
Barry, I'm sure you can pry that out of them tomorrow night when they're here at the ballpark. Disappointing major league debut for young Akil Morris. This is Jack Leathersich. 16th appearance for the lefty.
There'll be better days ahead for him. Got a chance to pitch in the big leagues. He'll learn something from it. He's got a good arm.
Jose Reyes takes ball 3. Reyes is the 9th man to bat here in the 8th inning, and we have seen this so many times this year where the Blue Jays will just explode, put up a crooked number. Danny Valencia, a 3-run homer, his 3rd of the season, gives him 18 RBIs. Full countdown.
Ball 4.
That's the 4th walk issued by the Mets this inning. You know, Josh Donaldson will get another hack.
Their pitching staff came into this ball game. They had issued only 144 walks all season. That's the fewest in the major leagues.
But they have been used a lot lately, and some of their regulars that would be pitching in this situation need an extra day's rest. They're not going to get their closer back until July. And Mejia was out with a suspension, and he won't come back till the 7th of July. That's been a missing part of a good bullpen.
Yeah, Familia has been the closer. That's been good. But finding that 8th inning guy, that's been the problem. That's where Mejia might go back and become the setup man when he does come back.
Donaldson hit that one right off the end of the bat. It's a ball and 2 strikes to the Blue Jays DH tonight. Donaldson got this inning started with a leadoff walk. Donaldson scored on the bunt single by Ezequiel Carrera.
Well, they have just pounded pitching. Another 5-run inning.
Eight runs on 10 hits for the Blue Jays. Another high fastball, and Donaldson strikes out. Well, the Blue Jays break out big as they return to Rogers Center. A couple of home runs for the Jays. Kevin Pillar with 1 out in the 7th, a solo shot number 5. And then Danny Valencia with 2 aboard. His home run number 3 for the season, capped off a 5-run 8th inning.
For daily coverage, headlines, analysis, and schedules, visit sportsnet.ca/Blue Jays or join the conversation at Sportsnet. And today on Sportsnet.ca, Shai Davidi writes about Aaron Sanchez and about how his injury raises some questions about how the Blue Jays will move forward with young pitchers like him. Buck?
Well, that's an interesting read, I'm sure, and make sure you check it out. Try to be reporting on how they develop young pitching. New pitcher into the game is Ryan Tepera. This will be his 10th appearance of the season. He's the third reliever to work for the Blue Jays tonight.
Trying to finish this one off. 9 games, 318 earned run average for Ryan. He pitched the other night. A very clean inning against the Mets. That was last night. Had a strikeout in the 1 inning. He'll face a bunch of pinch hitters here in the 9th inning.
Valencia and Pilar with home runs tonight. And there's a infield pitch, and look at Ryan Goins. He's done it all night long. He takes a pinch hit away from John Mayberry Jr. Well, a smile on his face, and why not? Taking a hit away from a former teammate.
Yeah, how important is defense? Well, I think it's very important. You can see he's playing up the middle. This ball is on the shortstop side of second base, and Goins showing that great range, soft hands, and strong arm. Finishes off the play. That is 4 times tonight that we have put a star next to a defensive play by Ryan Goins, turning an out into a base hit.
A 4-star night for Ryan Goins in the field. This is Kevin Plawecki, the backup catcher. Hitting for Travis d'Arnaud.
John Mayberry thought he had a base hit. That ball looked like it was heading straight into center field. Here comes the second baseman over and makes a great play. Boy, his game just gets better and better for me.
Yes, it does.
It reminds me of Kevin Pilar, how he looks more comfortable every day.
Gaining confidence. There's a base hit into right. Bautista will run it back to the infield. 1-out single for the pinch hitter. Now for a preview of what's coming up on Sportsnet Central. Here's Ken Reed and Ivanka Osmak. Thank you very much. And that course at Chambers Bay is as hard as a rock. And I'm sure that's going to be a topic of conversation on Sportsnet Central. Eric Campbell pinch hitting. Using all 3 of their bench players here in the 9th. Campbell pinch hitting for the shortstop Wilmer Flores. It's a foul ball. It's 0-2. The Blue Jays scored 5 runs in the bottom of the 8th. That's the 12th time they've had 5 or more runs in an inning this season. They're an explosive offense that can strike anywhere in their lineup. Everybody has a tendency to look at the top of the Blue Jays order. But tonight it's been the bottom 3 that have done most of the damage.
Yeah, starting rallies and then they finish them off. Took advantage of a base on balls. 4 of them in that inning.
Kevin Pilar with his 3rd 3-hit game of the season tonight. Ryan Goins had a good night at the plate and in the field. He was on base all 4 times. Breaking ball bounced over the mound. Goins will step on the bag, go to first. Why not? Finish it up with a flare. Ryan Goins with the double play to end the ball game. And the Blue Jays win the Laffer 8-0. Another shutout for the Blue Jays, and they're back on the winning side of things.
And everything is right now in Blue Jay land. They got the great relief pitching once again. They only gave up the 2 hits all night long. The offense, they hung around long enough to bust this one open late. This one was about pitching and defense, I think. Ryan Goins in particular. Outstanding. Blue Jays stopped that mini 2-game win streak and try to do it again tomorrow night.
Drew Hutchison picks up his 6th win of the season. He's 6-1 as the Blue Jays shut out the Mets. We'll do it again tomorrow night. Mets will wrap up this 2-game series. Stay tuned. Sportsnet Central. Here's Ken Reed and Ivanka Osmak. We'll see you tomorrow night.